Welcome back to the Cost Lunch Summit. I hope you've been having an amazing time so far. Today, I have someone special. I think she's so special because of all the speakers, she's one of the few people that I've actually met in person. And I met her while I was in Kenya. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Welcome, Judy! Hi, Judy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to see you again. It's so
amazing to see you too.
All right. So for the thousands of people who are watching, who haven't met you yet and don't really know what you do, please introduce yourself. Tell us your story and how you got here.
Perfect. So my name is Judy. I'm from Ireland, and I think, do you know what? Now I was thinking back the other day, and my video journey actually started when I was 1, because my parents bought a video camera. So my entire life, up until, well, not my entire life, up until the age of 11, I have like all of the special moments recorded, and I was not shy at all. I was like so up for talking to camera all the time. As soon as the camera came out, it kind of put on a show and stuff. So it all started there.
What's your name?
Judy Russell.
Judy what?
Judy Russell.
Judy what, Russell?
Judy Russell Breeder.
I think that stayed with me until now, especially because I suppose my parents separated when I was around 11, and we had to sell our home, and my brother and sister moved out of the house, but I still had that video and I still watch it today, and I look back at it and I kind of, it reminds me of things that I'd forget even happened and things. So I think that's why video has always been important to me. But I went down the university track, got a master's in economics, knew I'd never use it. I had no interest in using it, but I loved learning about it. And so then when I finished college, I did what every other millennial does, and I traveled and I worked in bars and restaurants all around the world. And then one day I came across a job advertisement in Craigslist in Costa Rica for a news spokeswoman, and I got the job, and I had no experience in this at all, but it was just because I had native English, basically, that they were like, yeah, take it, you can start tomorrow. So then for the next year and a half, I was presenting to YouTube videos about sports and kind of all American sports. So I was learning about NFL, I was learning about betting, we were doing live shows, and this was now 10 years ago. So this was when YouTube was very, very new. Like, most people didn't even have an account at the time. So we were kind of being led off to our own devices, as in like, there's no specific path to follow, so create your own. And we had loads of freedom, and we got to interview great people and just try things. So that was great. But I kind of, I think I'm a bit competitive against the guys, and it was me and loads of guys, and they knew all the technical stuff, all the camera and the editing, and I was like, I want to know the technical stuff too, you know. So I came back to Ireland and I went back to college, studied TV and video production for a year. Then when I came out of that, I edited a hidden camera show, and then I worked on one of Ireland's biggest box office hits. It's called The Young Offenders. It's a Cork film where I'm from, and it surpassed all of our expectations. And then I also produced my own show for a year, where I presented, directed, edited the entire thing. But as all of this was kind of happening, I was seeing how much mobile phones were incredibly close to the footage that I was getting on my professional camera. And also I was seeing all my friends uploading videos that kind of shaky, and like they could have been so good with just a tiny bit of maybe direction. So that's when then I set up the Vid Academy, just to try and help people to create their own videos online, and businesses and individuals and course creators like yourselves.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. An amazing story. All right. So for people who want to create their first online courses for the first time, and they are video shy, they are terrified of video. I don't know if you've experienced that before, because you know you grew up with video. For some people that they didn't grow up with video, they're terrified of putting themselves out there. And even though it looks like everybody is coming online now, everybody going live streaming or doing video, they're still afraid of doing video. Like, what advice do you have for them? What can they do to get comfortable?
I've always been really curious about like what it is that makes people afraid of video. So I was actually did an awful lot of research on this recently, you know, and I found out that kind of like, I don't know, it comes to the fact that there's a huge fear of rejection that everyone has, you know, and the psychology behind what makes video so daunting to us. So, but it's kind of unbiased, or it's unnecessary and unfounded. It's not like it's going live. Now, I know you in some situations you are live, but you can re-record yourself. So it's not like the video that you record has to go out, but it feels like at the time, like this is my only chance. People are going to see me now at my most vulnerable. They're going to reject me from the group. And it almost goes back to kind of like evolutionary days where people had a better chance of living when they lived in groups. And then if they were kicked out of the group, then they had a less chance. So I think we've just evolved to fear rejection at the worst of times. Then there's something called the confirmation bias, which is we find evidence that confirms what we already believe. So if we decide in our heads that we are terrible on video, and we tell ourselves that all the time, then when we look at ourselves on video, we're just going to think, oh look, I'm terrible. You'll see all the mistakes you're making and completely ignore all the great stuff that you're doing, and you won't build upon that then, because you'll just start self-harming your personality, you know. And then the final thing is, and this is one that really struck me, it's the familiarity principle. So we prefer what we're more familiar with. And we've been looking in the mirror our whole entire life. So we've actually been looking at a mirror reflection of ourselves. And because our faces, mine isn't anyway, isn't symmetrical, I'm looking at a different version of myself. So then what I see in the mirror is totally different to what's on video or what other people see. So what I did actually was I took a picture of myself and I flipped it, and I much rather the mirror image than I do the other image. So I think people then they're unfamiliar with how they look. They think that they don't look that way, but it's not like they look less good than they are. They don't look any worse. They're just more familiar with seeing the mirror image. And then there's also the sound, and it's called bone conduction. And basically your sound comes out of your mouth and goes into your ear, but there's also muscles inside your head that resonate. And this makes your voice actually sound deeper to you. So you think that your voice sounds all Morgan Freeman and timbery, but your voice actually sounds like David Beckham and super high. And then you're like, I don't sound like that. But what you're hearing on video is what everyone else is hearing. So the best thing that you can do is just get used to it. And I think that's most important.
All right. Okay, so you said you have a presentation to share with us. Okay.
I do, but I don't want to cloud it now with that. But I just have actually 15 tips I can start there.
All right.
For getting comfortable with video. The first thing is to look the part, and I think that's so important because we kind of forget that we're presenting ourselves, you know, and look the part in a sense that you want to be comfortable. You want to kind of choose tailored clothes that really suit you. Clean and wrinkle free, that is a problem I've come up with myself 1,000 times. I've been out on a shoot or something, I've had a drink of coffee spilt on my top, didn't notice it, got back to the edit, I'm looking at this huge stain and I can't focus on anything else except the stain. So that's something to watch. Matching your brand. I mean, if you're making videos that are kind of training people about legal things, you know, maybe you should probably wear a suit. But if your brand is a lot more relaxed, then there's no point in wearing a suit because you want people to kind of associate you with your brand. Solid colors are always preferred over patterns. That's just for video anyway, sorry. Just because they're a little bit distracting, and it's better to kind of focus on the presenter's face than what they're wearing. Moderately vibrant colors, so you don't want something that's too, like, I suppose, light reflects off our clothes and onto our faces. And also sometimes the cameras, the light or the reflection is so harsh that it kind of looks distorted, or it might look blurry, and it just might kind of take down the quality of the video that you're making. And then greens and blues are always preferred to reds and oranges on camera as well. Now, you can't do that all the time when you're making lots of videos, you know, you can change around, but they're just kind of some rules. And always avoid stripes. White, it just takes in too much light. Black, it gets lost, especially on kind of cameras that aren't broadcast quality. And sleeveless tops, and this is just because the skin tone is the same as your face, so it actually draws people's eye down to your shoulders instead of looking at you when you're speaking to the camera. So that's the first one. Then the second one is to wear powder. I forget this all the time, but can you see the difference between the lady here now, one of them, she doesn't have powder on, and then she does, like, it makes you look so much better, and you'll prefer looking at yourself when you have more of a matte finish to your face than that glossy kind of look, and the camera picks up all of that stuff. And also the camera understates makeup. So when I go on camera, I find myself putting on almost twice the amount of makeup that I actually would in real life. But you put on your normal makeup, you look at camera and you're like, why? There's nothing, I've no color, you know, there's nothing there. So I always go back and just put on more and then take it off before I go and meet people, because they're like, why are you caked in makeup? You know? And I'm like, oh, sorry, I forgot. So tip 3 is to be patient with yourself. Like, don't expect to get it right in the first take, even the 10th take. You know, there have been times where we've been out filming and I've had to do a piece to camera, and it's the end of the day, we all want to get home, we've somewhere to go, and I can't get the line right, and I'm saying it over and over again, and then I'm getting so frustrated with myself in my head, to the point where I actually can't do it. And even if I do get it right, I go back and I look at it and my energy is off, you know. And I think people are really good at reading energy on camera and stuff, so you're better off just saying, do you know what, it's not working today, let's just do it in front of a tree, so that we don't have to be location specific next time, and we'll just come back tomorrow and do it with a calm mindset, you know. So I liked that quote, actually. It said, all things are difficult before they become easy. So just patience. Tip 4 is to show your hands. So it's now not too much. And if you're not someone who does, if you don't use your hands when you're communicating with people, don't try and use your hands then, because it will just look fake. But every now and then, like, try and incorporate your hands into the video a bit, because it's kind of like poker, you know, where you show your hand. People are more likely to trust you if they can see your hands. If they're hidden for the entire video, the viewer feels like you're hiding something from them too, interestingly. So yeah, bit of that every now and then, you know. So then 5 is keep at eye level. Now, a lot of us have laptops and stuff, so they're down here and they're looking up at us, but I have my laptop now in a box, and I also have a wireless keyboard, so that I don't have to actually go up to the camera, and it also gives me some space back from the screen. But if you've got a high angle and if you're looking down at the camera, it feels like you're kind of talking down to someone. And then if you're looking up at the camera, it feels like, you know, that they're the person in charge. So I think with online courses, it's just better to be level with people, unless you have a very specific reason to change that. Tip 6 is to watch other people. So a great quote I saw earlier as well was, average people learn from their mistakes and smart people learn from other people's. And I'd go as far as to, when you're watching online courses, actually take notes, because something happens when you write something down as opposed to take something into your personality. I feel like, for me anyway, it goes into a deeper compartment and my subconscious turns it over even more. So I often will go and watch other presenters and take notes. Now, I'm not criticizing them or anything. I'm just like, okay, I'd like to do that, and then maybe I wouldn't do that. And, you know, just to match with your own personality and stuff like that. I think that's important. Stay hydrated, something that I'm not doing right now, and it's really important to keep water or tea with honey next to you. I know with them, when people do voiceovers for their audiobooks, like all they do all day, Richard Branson was talking about it on a podcast the other day. He said, I'm in there recording my voice and drinking about 40 gallons of tea with honey as well, just to kind of give that nice kind of smooth vibration to your voice, and not let your mouth dry out, which can distract you and distract the people listening. Then correct your headroom. So you don't want to have too much headroom. You'll notice it on TV now when you're watching it all the time. There's almost like, it's like an inch, you know. You don't want to have, there's kind of there's a sweet spot that you just want to get right. And you can see by this example now on the screen, one is too much, one is too little, and then the other is perfect. So for yourself as well, it's always try to keep the right level of headroom. It will just make your video look more professional. Then choose outline over script. Now, I know when we're nervous and we have a script and we think that we should learn the script off by heart, but sometimes that can just lead us down the wrong path, where we might forget a sentence and then we can't get back into the flow of things. And also with online courses, I think that people buy them a lot to do with the person who's presenting's personality. And you get to give a lot more of your personality when you're not scripted. But I would have an outline and bullet points, and I try and stick to them as close as I could, but I'd give myself leeway to make mistakes and to, you know, mess things up and then come back again and repeat them over again. People are very patient, and they get to know you in those little pieces of time where you might think you're not looking like your best self. People are probably going, oh, well, he or she is human after all, you know, and that helps then with the connection that you're having with the student. Then consult your brand values before every video. I heard this in another podcast where it's actually targeted at people presenting on stage, and she is a famous motivational speaker, and before she goes on stage every time she consults her brand values, and she basically wrote them down in one go, and she was just like, this is what I want to be every time I put myself out there. And then she just reminds herself. So I did the same, and I lost the piece of paper now, but there's things like simplicity, integrity, openness, you know, and just to kind of replay them in your head before you go on camera. And just because we're not the same person all the time, you know, we're sometimes business mode, we're sometimes friend mode, you know, we have all these different hats that we have to wear, and sometimes you have to present on the fly and you have to make a video straight away, and it's hard to shift back into online teacher mode, you know. So I think by going over those, it kind of helps you get into the rhythm that you need to go, and keep your videos consistent too. Now this is a good one. It's speak to the one that you love. Now before, it used to be put a photo of your friend next to the camera. So the first part is like, you're speaking to one person at a time usually with online video. You're not speaking to a group, so you might get daunted into thinking, if 1,000 people watch this, I'm speaking to 1,000 people, but you're not. You're speaking to one person at a time with headphones in, you know, so you want to have that like really kind of close connection with that person who's listening to you. And I used to do this with when I was presenting for TV. I'd bring a picture of my friend around, put it next to the camera, and it would just completely relax me, as opposed to speaking to this abyss of I don't know who's listening or anything like that. But recently I heard that there's a tiny change when you speak to someone who you're in love with. So right now I'm not actually in love with anyone except for James Franco. So I put a little James Franco next to, actually, yeah, on the just over the eye. So I'm looking at James Franco when I'm chatting away, and it works wonders. And it's funny too, because James Franco's looking at you as you're teaching online. So then there's tip 12. I would always film yourself last. I would do all of the voiceover stuff, all of the screen capture stuff, everything like that. I would get out of the way, and then I'd figure out where you need to fill in the blanks with video, as opposed to trying to record yourself on screen for the entire thing, because you can come across a lot more professional, and it takes the pressure off then. And you can probably do intros, middle sections and outros for like 10 videos in one day if you plan it right, as opposed to doing like just one video, 2 camera, all in one go. Now the audio will sound a little bit different if you're using a different mic, but there's ways to cover that with kind of a music transition or some kind of swipe, you know, those that you kind of hear all the time. But I would definitely practice with that. It just, for me anyway, takes a lot of the pressure off, and I can stay in my pajamas for the first half of the day doing all of the screen capture stuff, and then it's like, okay, now time to get camera ready, you know, and then you get all those out of the way, and you figure out where you could come in at times where you wouldn't have even have thought about coming in before, and be like, oh guys, so I'm just here to say this one other tip that I have for you, or something like that. You know, you can just you build it in, and it's, I think it's a lot more exciting than to watch. So then 13 is watch yourself a lot. We discussed that at the start, but you have to watch yourself as much as you don't want to. Just keep doing it, because the familiarity principle, you'll get more used to what you look like, more used to what you sound like, and then you'll start to notice the things that other people are actually noticing, as opposed to just being like, oh, it's all terrible, you know. And then is pre-filming rituals. If you're into yoga, if you just even drink a cup of coffee, I sometimes listen to one of my favorite songs, and it kind of puts me in the mindset as well. And whatever you like to do to kind of get you in the zone for the video, but I'd always try and leave 15 minutes before the video to just set up everything, be all ready, and then just remove yourself from the situation for 15 minutes, realize it's not the end of the world if you don't get it done today, and just zen, you know. And then finally is save your bloopers. Every time you make a mistake and you don't put it into something that you're putting online, put it on a different timeline somewhere else, or save it into a different folder, because at the end it's always great. Even if you don't put it online, you don't have to show it to anyone except your best friends at a Christmas party, and everyone will probably be in stitches. But just on that note, then I just have a little blooper reel from my most recent one. Now, before we go, we want to make sure that we leave you smiling. So here's a look at some of the bloopers from this year.
It's just another oops on
With video.
It's just another oops, how can it be?
Stay here now, okay, lads? Stay here for a second. Hi, I'm Judy, and welcome to Cork County Matters. Crowds are starting to form, and people are looking fantastic. They've put loads of effort into looking great for tonight, including this guy here. So who knew that such an everyday item that most of us probably have in our fridge at the moment had such an influence on the development of Cork and Munster? The Firkin Crane is Cork's dance centre, and every summer it hosts a resident. The Cork School of Music Jazz Big Band are setting up. Over 20 musicians, all musicians, over 20... Not only is the food totally delicious, totally bodacious, and not only is the food absolutely gorgeous, it's not only is the food delicious, but all of their produce... The 10th anniversary of the Dragon of Shandon, and what can we say? What can we say? The Firkin Crane is Cork's dance centre, and every summer it hosts a residency scheme called Blank. That's it. That's all you have to do, is just kind of get used to not taking yourself so seriously, you know.
Yeah. And you made so many interesting points. Like I was just like, oh God, this is interesting. So many things I haven't even thought about before. But you said, you know what, it's just a video, you can record it over and over again, and that just takes the pressure off. That takes the pressure off, like, it has to be like this. You can record it if you make a mistake. So calm down. Calm down.
Exactly.
And have fun.
Exactly.
So among the tips, I found the one about speaking to the one you love particularly interesting. Yeah. Because it's true. You just, if you're thinking about one person, it helps you to calm down and just to enjoy yourself. And you know, when you're enjoying yourself over video, people can see it. They can see it. So thank you for sharing all those amazing tips with us. I almost don't even have any question for you, because it feels like you covered all the ground. But let's talk about the fear of rejection and the fear of rejection and something you call comparison bias.
Yes, confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. Yes, I really like that. Please, can you? How do people? So I know you mentioned that one of the reasons people are afraid of video is that there's fear of rejection. Yes, that is there. So what do they do even though they are scared of rejection? What should they do?
Wow, well, I think that's an age-old question that we're all trying to deal with. But I suppose, you know what I'm finding good at the moment is, like, think about the worst case scenario. Like, what is the worst that will happen if you make a mistake on a video, or if someone doesn't like you? Like, okay, so they might write a negative comment at the end of your course, but like, if you're not out to kind of like do something bad to someone, then, you know, that's just someone's opinion. And I'm sure there'll be way more people who will be fighting for your corner, you know, knowing that you're doing your best and stuff like that. You know, you just have to become really, really resilient. And I think it's like really good for you personally to make videos, because when I first started working in that in Costa Rica, you know, YouTube comments were coming in left, right, and center. And one time, someone wrote, "She has teeth like a horse and a butter face," right? And I didn't know what a butter face was. I thought that it was like buttery complexion. I was like, well, that's kind of a compliment. Until someone was like, "No, everything is good but her face." And then I was like, oh, that's really mean. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know this guy. I don't know him at all. And, you know, he's obviously having a terrible time if he's going online and writing this stuff, because who would do that? And I managed to compartmentalize that comment into a different section of my head. And I was like, no, I'm not giving that time. It doesn't deserve my time. So
beautiful response. Like I what you said is just spot on, and I wish that everybody can adopt this as a, you know, as a motto when they're putting themselves out there, is that that's just somebody's opinion. And, you know, when people come out online and put hurtful statements about another person, most times something else is going on in their own life. Like they are frustrated at their own self, and that's why they are making hurtful statements. Judy, I don't know if you've noticed that my hands are up. I'm using my hands.
Fantastic. Amazing.
But seriously though, that's a very great point, that sometimes when we allow other people's comments to stop us, whatever that person said had nothing to do with us. We have something valuable to give, and so let's focus on the value that we're going to give out and people who really need our help. All right. Exactly. So that's a great point. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. And I know that has set a lot of people free. I can tell you for sure. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, good.
And I also want to just also drill down to the confirmation bias and about if you believe something about yourself, that you just keep looking for people who will confirm that about that thing. And so what that means is that we should believe good things about ourselves, because once you believe the good about yourself, you will start seeing other people, you will start seeing other things to confirm that. So first thing first, everybody please start saying, I'm good at video. I'm good at video. I'm good at video. Because once you say I'm good at video, you start seeing other people say, oh my goodness, you're good at video.
Yes, exactly.
Confirmation about how good you are at video. And you know, like I was amazed at all the tips you were sharing, because I was like, this thing is a skill that can be learned. So once you start saying I'm good at video, you start applying all these tips. Yes. You know, you talked about using your hands, you know, making sure that you look good, wearing the right colors, saying your brand words over and over to yourself, you know, and speaking to the one you love. I really like that thing. Speaking to the one you love, you will become a self-fulfilling prophecy that you will actually become somebody who's good at video. Thank you so much. This was so good. This was so good. Thank you so much. So for anybody who's trying to reach out to you or who wants to work with you, learn more about you, get more tips from you, you know, learn from you, anything, how can they reach out to you?
I think the Vid Academy, I basically have, it was one of my friends who kind of helped me come up with the name, and it was great because I managed to get the Twitter handle, the Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and the website. So everything is thevidacademy.com or / the Vid Academy. And I'm currently working on my own online course now. So I'll also be joining in the summit and listening to all of you give me extra tips about other things and stuff. So I'm really excited to learn. And thank you for putting this together, Stephanie. It's fantastic.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to have her details below this video, so that in case you didn't hear the words or you forgot, you will see it. You'll see it right below this video. Thank you, Judy.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.